Hello. Welcome to my live stream. I hope you can see me. I am Peaceful Nick the Medium. It looks like we are live. Let me double check on my other device here. Hopefully, of course, all the pop-ups have to pop up. So hopefully we are live and everyone can see me. And we shall see if it's working. Hopefully it is. Hopefully it's working. Let's see. Thank you for being patient. I'm not sure. We'll find out. I hope it's working. I'm here to talk about part 2 of the telepathy tapes, and I have my notes. We're going to review everything from last week. Last week I was going to finish it all in one stream. However, for some reason, because you know how live streaming is, all kinds of crazy stuff happens. Oh, hi. Hello. Oh, thanks for being here. Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it so much. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to get started. So Friday is the last day for my buy one, get one free reading special. And I also have the Spirit Exchange, the new iteration with medium Kathy Behrens and myself. That starts April 10th. You get 10 90-minute gallery-style reading events over a 1-year period. And if you sign up by March 18th, you get a free 20-minute reading with either myself or Kathy Behrens. You get an invitation for a guest to come to one of the gallery-style readings, and it is limited to 25 members, so everybody will get a reading or 2 or 5 readings over the year. We also give away free prizes, and if you sign up by March 18th, you will save $100 on the membership. So that is live on my website right now, and I appreciate you being here and being patient while the live stream does what it does, which is usually glitch out all the time. So if you have any questions about the telepathy tapes, let me know. I have crazy hair today, so don't judge. Last week we talked about episode 1 through 3 to 3.5 to 4, somewhere in there. The Telepathy Tapes is a podcast series about mostly nonverbal autistic kids to adults, and they speak to each other telepathically, and they speak to their parents, their teachers, and this was kind of discovered a while back, but science has a hard time accepting that it's happening. And one of the main points from a follow-up podcast I watched was there's something called savant syndrome, where somebody has some type of major injury to their brain, and all of a sudden somebody who is a mechanic gets a brain injury, and suddenly he's a pianist, a savant pianist who's composing these incredible piano songs or whatever, compositions. I don't know what it's called. Anyway, science has no problem believing in savant syndrome, but they do have a problem believing in telepathy. And sometimes scientists that are materialist scientists are skeptics just to be skeptical. Sometimes they are adversarial just to be adversarial. And it's not the healthiest outlook for a scientist. And then sometimes scientists have grant money that they're encouraged to use and get a certain result. And, stuff's falling over. And that's not real science. We need to be actually following the evidence in science, and telepathy is an important thing to study because it's been reported since the beginning of mankind. Since we had language, people have been talking about telepathy in one way or another and communication with other worldly spiritual beings in every single culture in the world that we have any type of writing or historical documentation of. There's always some type of deity or spiritual belief system in every single culture. Why scientists who are materialist scientists, which means they only believe in something three-dimensional that they can see, feel, hear, or touch for themselves, and they have a hard time understanding that there are other things that we can't explain. And telepathy is one of those things, as well as mediumship. And the whole purpose of why I watched the telepathy tapes in the first place was in order to, first of all, I was curious. I didn't originally know that it was about autistic people until later. And I'm a medium and I'm a scientist. And so I was very curious to see what it was all about. And I couldn't stop watching it. I watched all of the episodes in a 24-hour period because it was just so intriguing and so amazing. So what happens in the first couple of episodes is there are some students who are testing for, hi Cheyenne, they're testing these students for whether they have telepathy. So if you didn't watch part 1 from last week, all the details are in last week's episode. But basically, it was discovered the parents were able to, their minds were being read by the autistic kids, young adults. And so they tested kids in the first couple of episodes. They put blindfolds on them that were like super tight. The mom would stand behind them, so there was no way they could see them. The kids were blindfolded. The mom was behind them. The mom would have a little card with a number, a color, a symbol, something on it. And she's behind the kid, and the kid would type or write or somehow express what the mom was seeing. And they did this over and over and over and over, and they were right 100% of the time, which is incredible. You're right about 25% if you're guessing, depending on the parameters of, what you're guessing. But 100%, I mean, that's incredible. That's incredible. And so that was the first couple of episodes. And then we talked about under the right conditions, our brain acts as a receiver of radio signals or some type of signals. And in my mediumship practice, I say that all the time. For any of you who've watched me live before or watched any of my replays, I always say it's like an antenna. When any person in the world is thinking about their loved one in spirit, or even someone who's living, and you send a signal out, a little radio signal on your antenna, and it sends it out, and then you act as a receiver. So that is how I believe telepathy and mediumship work. I'll give you an example. I was giving a reading today to a client, and we had to reschedule her reading from yesterday because something happened on her end. And I'm like, oh, no problem. We'll do it tomorrow because I don't want you to be distracted. And originally her reading was going to be 2:00 my time. Well, for some reason, I felt compelled to move it to 3:00 my time. And she told me today that there was a reason she was going to have to take time off work to do the reading at 2:00. But because I, for some reason, felt compelled to email her to have it at 3, she didn't have to take time off work. And that is telepathy. I didn't realize that's what was happening. For example, my friends, my sister, my husband, my kids, I'll have a thought of them in my mind and then I'll get a text message from them. Or, a phone call from them or an email from somebody that I was just thinking about. That's telepathy. I'm sure it's happened to everyone. If you've had that happen, please let me know in the chat. If you have any questions, let me know. The other amazing thing that happens in the telepathy tapes is the kids from different parts of the world who don't know each other express to their caretakers, parents, teachers, psychologists that they talk on the hill. And they all use the same terminology. And these are kids who never met in person, and they're spread out all over the world, and they use that terminology. So what they're doing is they're communicating telepathically in a group with each other. And they all call it the same thing. We talk on the hill. And there can be 10, 20, 30, 100, 1,000 people's consciousness they're communicating. And the fact that different people from different parts of the world all said the same exact thing that had the same exact meaning just was incredible to me. That's evidence that is so incredible. Please let me know if you're still seeing my live stream, because for some reason it's not showing my picture. So please let me know if you can see me. This is getting increasingly frustrating. Carrie, that doesn't surprise me that happens to you often at all. I bet it happens with your kids all the time. Can anybody see me? Can anybody see me? Please let me know. Let me know, please let me know. I don't know if I'm still live. I don't know what's happening. You're good. I can see. Okay, thank you. Okay, so Rupert Sheldrake, Dr. Rupert Sheldrake, who has studied, he's a scientist with a PhD, but he's also studied things on the perimeter, similar to me, like not everything is material. And he said, I think that our minds are field-like, which I love. They are extended in space, not just confined to our brains. The gravitational field of the Earth extends invisibly through space, and no one has a problem with that. But why do they have a problem with telepathy? And it's true. We have a field. Our body has an electromagnetic field. Our brain and our heart has an electromagnetic field. The Earth, every planet, Jupiter's electromagnetic field stretches billions of miles to Saturn. It's invisible. It's only detectable with machinery. Why do scientists believe that, but they can't believe telepathy? Both invisible, both have evidence to prove. Gravity's invisible. They believe that. I just get frustrated about it. Okay. Episode 5 continued. So we left off in episode 5 last week. And just make sure I took a lot of notes because it was kind of amazing. Okay. So last week I left off on episode 5. So we're continuing from that. And Rupert Sheldrake was talking about the gravity or the electromagnetic waves, the invisible waves, all that stuff. The gravitational field, why wouldn't our brain have a field? And it does. We know it does, right? Anybody who's into this stuff knows that. Social animals bond, and humans are social animals. Now, my belief, and I've said this many, 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 many times, is that we unlearned telepathy and we've had to relearn it. I'd say a large portion of the modern human population has unlearned telepathy, but now we're realizing, oh wait, we have these powers that we unlearned because we are social animals. We needed to run away from lions right? So we needed to be able to communicate quickly with each other. We have mysterious knowings and senses that, because we live in houses with walls and doors now, we don't have to use anymore. So it's like a muscle you don't exercise. It's like your appendix. It's a vestigial organ. It's there. It had a purpose, and now you can live without it. So we can mostly live without telepathy, right? But now we're realizing, wait a minute, there's a purpose for that, and it can be really advantageous. So check in and let me know you can still see me, because my picture is gone. So just give me an emoji or a thumbs up or something if you can still see me. Oh, this is a great story. All right, so there was a lady who had to go she was some kind of social worker type person, and she had to go evaluate an autistic student. And she didn't have the training for this specific situation. So she goes to, oh, thank you, Carrie. So she goes to see the student in his preschool or elementary school. And she had never had any kind of telepathic or paranormal experience before in her life. And she suddenly saw, these are her words, a body of light floating over the student. And she reports that the student said, "That is my light body. You are here to put it back into my physical body." And she was absolutely shocked, because nothing like that had ever happened to her. And this particular student, if I'm remembering correctly, had a really hard time controlling his body. And his reason was his light body wasn't connected to his body. And so she, I believe, has worked since then helping students in this situation put their light bodies back in their bodies so they can function better, which it was incredible. I suggest, if you're interested, everyone should watch these telepathy tapes. It's mind-blowing. She compared it to, she was using tuning forks. Then she said she was, if you have two tuning forks and they don't match the frequency, they won't affect each other. If you have two identical tuning forks, they will vibrate in resonance. I don't know why I'm losing my voice. This is so bizarre. Two tuning forks in the same frequency. You vibrate one, the other one will vibrate, and they'll vibrate together like that. If they're not the same tuned to the same frequency, you vibrate one, the other one doesn't even move. And so she had these tuning forks, and she had this idea. And so she took the tuning forks by this kid and just like ding, 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 ding. Then she figured out the frequency that worked for him. And the child claimed his body, his light body went into his body. And that's how she's been helping these kids ever since. Carrie said, I was just about to mention the tuning forks. It's incredible. It's incredible. Feel free to add whatever you want. I haven't watched them in over a week, so I'm a little rusty, but I do have my notes. Then episode 6 was a parrot, the bird, a parrot was talking and using telepathy with its owner, which was a very incredible part of, it was like widely studied. And so they were bringing in these other situations with other animals and humans and stories about that to prove There's more than we think there is. There's just more than we think there is. There's absolutely more to this universe. There's absolutely more to this world. There's so much more than we want to accept, most people. There's so much more than we can see. It's mind-blowing. So the parrot was using telepathy with its owner, and that was an amazing part of the telepathy tapes. And then the other part was there was a man who lived with elephants for a certain period of time. And then I guess he was studying them, something like that. He had to live with them for some reason to study them, find something out about them. Then later he moved home. Well, he eventually passed away. And the elephants, within 24 hours of his passing, the elephants came from far away and walked to his house on their own with no prompting. And for 4 years after he died, on the anniversary of his death, they walked miles and miles and miles to come to his house where he lived after he passed away. That is incredible. And there is no other explanation for that than they had been communicating at the soul level or spiritual level, and those elephants, and they're not just dumb animals, they're beautiful, brilliant, intelligent creatures that have compassion and love for their herd members, their babies, all of that. So it doesn't surprise me that they loved this man very much. Another part was in episode 6 so I often compare, and this kind of made me think a little more deeply about some of this stuff. I often compare our mediumship abilities, telepathic abilities to the electromagnetic spectrum and some kind of energy exchange. But I also say it's happening at the quantum level. Okay, so I do that for ease of explanation with the electromagnetic spectrum because most people have learned about that. But really, it's happening at the quantum level. And what scientists did, some studies where they put people in electromagnetically shielded chambers and tested their telepathic abilities and found out that they're still getting and they're giving, receiving information even though they are shielded from these chambers. They also used submarines that were far away, miles away. They are electromagnetically shielded, and people could still transmit and receive information from outside the submarine to inside the submarine, which makes sense to me because I get questions all the time. How does mediumship work online? Don't you have to be in the same room? No, you absolutely. I could read somebody if they were on the moon or on a moon of Jupiter or Alpha Centauri. Like, it doesn't matter where you are. The energy is the energy. And quantum energy kind of skips time. It doesn't travel faster than light. It just kind of skips the traveling and just appears here and there. So there's no travel time. That's a much longer story than this is. But so yeah, you can communicate from anywhere. I've done readings across the world, many of them online, and it has no problem. Our consciousness is non-local, and I've talked about this many times. It is not connected to our brain. It is something that resides in our body temporarily and doesn't always stay in our body. It can come and go. Okay, I'm just getting messages about the feed. So what'd I do? Our consciousness can come and go. That's why when you have people with dementia, in a coma, any kind of neurological issue, their spirit can come and go, kind of halfway between earth and the spirit world and back and forth. And they can go visit loved ones. I've heard lots of stories about people who, the night before Grandpa died, they were at home in bed and they were sitting in bed, and all of a sudden they felt a presence next to them and they could feel somebody sitting there, but nobody was there. And then they heard Grandpa talking to them. And then the next day, Grandpa passed away. I've heard that many, 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 many times. Really? Oh my God. I'm going to have to watch the replay. And there is no fan or anything on in here. And I know my air conditioner is not running because I am very, very hot. I can't wait. Oh, we got to look at the time on here so we can check. It's around, I can't see the time because the recording stopped. 8:26. Okay. I'm going to write that down. Thank you, Carrie. All right. Perfect. All right. So that was episode 6, continuing episode 6. So scientists have been discussing what they call the hard problem. And the hard problem in science is, where does consciousness come from? Where does consciousness reside? What is consciousness? And of all the smart scientists in the world with all their degrees, no, there's no bugs in here. Nope. Not a bug that would look, no, I don't have any bugs in here. Thank God. I'm way upstairs in the back corner of my office here. I'll look at it though for sure. So, Dr. Diane Powell wrote the ESP Enigma. This was decades ago, I believe. And just because it had ESP in the title, her license got revoked and the medical board did not even read her book. So that's where we are in our society. And I believe she fought it and they read the book and then gave her license back. I believe that's the order of events. But that's what happens to people who try to research anything that's on the outer edge that's not materialism. Like it's not solidly, there. There's so much here. Let's see. And then there is the Infinite Awareness book by Dr. Walcott, who states, if the basis of the world is consciousness, then we aren't really separate at all. And anybody who's had any type of telepathic experience, mediumship experience, spiritual experience, any type of higher consciousness experience, we're not separate at all. And I can prove that for a fact. Got to have some water for this one. The universe started as energy, just energy. There was no matter at all. There was nothing solid. It was just energy, vibrating energy. When you get enough energy together, it makes matter. So the basis of all of the matter in the universe is energy. All of that came from one small point at the beginning of the universe. All of the energy was condensed into one small point, and then it expanded, but it was still all connected because it was one small point. So if you crinkle up a piece of paper and you put 1,000,000 dots on it, all those points are connected at that level, right? So, and then you spread out the paper, and that ink has bled into little lines connecting every spot, right? That's an analogy to show that everything in the universe was once connected. So then matter started. Atoms of hydrogen were first. They became stars, just big, gravitationally attracted atoms of hydrogen became stars. There were no planets for billions of years. Stars had to die and explode before planets could form because stars make the heavier elements. Those heavy elements are what make the calcium in our bones and teeth, the iron in our blood, the carbon in our DNA. All of that comes from exploded stars. So a lot of stars had to explode before we had planets. Our sun and planets and all the other junk in our solar system all came from many, many exploded stars. We are literally stardust. And as Neil deGrasse Tyson said, that is the closest thing to a spiritual experience for him. That we all came from a connected, condensed energy that eventually converted into humans who think and build spaceships and build skyscrapers and airplanes and cars and can talk to each other like this on the internet. But we are all virtually made of stardust that was all connected by energetic particles from those atoms 13.8 billion years ago. And so we are all connected fundamentally. So that is absolutely beautiful. All right. Episode 7, telepathy is the tip of the iceberg. Please, somebody put an emoji in. Make sure I know you're still here, that you can still see me, because I can't still see myself. So consciousness is the foundation of the universe. There was a student in the Telepathy Tapes, Amelia, who talked about seeing God or gods at night that teach her languages. And she, as a young girl who had no exposure to such things by her parents or school, knew Hebrew, hieroglyphics, and several other languages, and she claimed she knew them before she was born. They're using their clairsenses, clairvoyance, clairsentience, claircognizance to get this information. So let me know if you can still see me. And Amelia communicates with spirits. Thank you. And then another student listed names and evidence of a teacher's passed away family members and went on and on with different students over several weeks. So there was a student in a class who had realized their spiritual connection abilities by telling the teacher about one of her passed away loved ones. That's mediumship. And then was telling other students in the class about their passed away loved ones. And all of those things were validated by the family members, which is incredible. And then we have Josiah. We're on episode 9. For some reason, I think episode 8 got skipped or something happened. So I'm at episode 9 now. Josiah at 7 wrote that God is the best gift ever, talked about his past auntie, gave prophetic messages, and an odd language cadence that wasn't normal for him. He talked about angels and spiritual matters, and his mom wrote a book called Josiah's Fire. I've not read that book. I'm just telling you what was reported in the Telepathy Tapes. There was a woman named Becky who had a stroke and became an unintentional medium. So that is part of savant syndrome. But science won't accept mediumship or telepathy. But she did become a medium. She had a stroke, and then her mediumship abilities just turned on. She was communicating with one of the passed away people from the telepathy tapes for days, and she gave a bunch of information about his passing and about her version of heaven. And then there was a description of someone playing a video game, and when you're immersed in the video game, you can also communicate with this world. So if anybody's ever been doing something they're really engrossed in, a video game, typing an email, watching a TV show, you're just engrossed in it, but you can still sense what's going on around you in your real world. That is kind of similar to what these kids are describing as their special ability. They're in this world and they can see what's happening in this world, like the video game, quote unquote, but they can also be attached to the other world, the telepathic world, and communicate with their friends at any time, anywhere in the world. So I thought that was a really interesting comment about an interesting comparison. Hello. So if anybody has any questions about the telepathy tapes or anything coming up for my mediumship, my classes, anything like that, please let me know. I recommend the telepathy tapes. I hope you watch it and get some really good information out of it. It's fascinating. I do have private mediumship readings. I do card pulls. I do spiritual guidance. I have a buy one, get one free that expires Friday. And the Spirit Exchange with myself and Kathy Behrens is an annual membership for 10 90-minute galleries over the next year from 2025 to 2026. Free prizes are given. You save $100 if you book by March 18th and get a free 20-minute reading if you book by March 18th, a private 20-minute reading just for yourself. And you get a ticket for a guest to join one of the galleries. So if you don't have any questions, I will sign off. Thank you guys for being here. I hope you enjoyed this review and summary of the telepathy tapes. I wish you all a wonderful end of the week. Tomorrow's Thursday. And I wish you all peace, love, and happiness. And thank you for joining me. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening.